Hello.
Hello?
Hello. What's up, bro?
Hey, it's the What's Up Bro podcast. We talk movies, sports, TV shows, pop culture, and it's funny, motherfuckers. With nary signs. I'm like, what? How can this... They have Photoshop. Photoshop exists when this artist rendition was done. How the fuck is this not cooler looking than a sketch that looks like it was done by a hillbilly off the side of the road? What the fuck are we talking? Why is this a thing?
Welcome to the party, pal!
Steph, Onion Mayor Sr.
Yeah, I don't have to look cute for you.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah!
And Mike Markadal.
I'm just glad I like vanilla, boring sex like this. I'm glad that the sex I enjoy won't get me killed.
That's how winning is done.
Hey, I'm Dave Chappelle, and this is What's Up, Bro.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to What's Up, Bro, the What's Up, Bro podcast. I'm Mike Mercadal. With me, as always, is, if he's there.
Nary signs.
Okay. Nary has not been eclipsed by the moon. Nary has not been blotted out from the sky. Nary is not visible because of internet connection issues. But
That's what they want you to think, man. That's what they want you to think, man.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you're watching us now, get in the comments. We did a whole thing where you see what we want to talk about on the right-hand side of the screen. You can just jump on in and give us your opinions. And you know what? Interpret it as you will. WrestleMania, we're going to talk about WrestleMania. But it may be you have a different thing. Maybe you're wrestling with inner demons. Maybe you're wrestling with a big decision you have to make. We all want to hear it. So just all of wrestling is included in the WrestleMania. Unhappy endings? I mean, it could be anything. It could be a movie that you were like, oh, that movie ended sad. Or, oh, that movie sucked.
Or a massage that you thought was going to go one way, but it did not.
Okay. We've all been there. We've all...
Have we?
And also,
have we?
Hey, moving on. And then also, we have the Eclipse just happened. The Eclipse on the West Coast, I looked at it. With the lenses, where we have little things, not like former President Trump looking at it with his bald eyes, just bare-faced eyeballs. Could you see it from where you are right now?
No, I'm in the middle of the ocean. I'm literally like in the Caribbean Sea. It's like if you look at the little diagram. Yeah. The Caribbean is the other way around. I don't know if do you know where Mexico and the Caribbean are?
I know, but it came up like this way. You could still see pieces of it. It's the fucking sun.
No. If you look at there's a diagram of like the little shadows following where you can see it, and nowhere in there is the Atlantic Ocean. Nowhere. That's nowhere in there.
But you can. All right. Yes, I fully clip. That's the thing. I've never seen the full ring. Okay. I recently got back from Mexico. We were in Yucatan for a wedding, my wife and I. Chiquita, what was the full name that we gave her?
It was Chiquita, wasn't it?
Chiquita, yeah. My wife was there, and I was also there. We were in Mexico, and why am I doing this? We went to a wedding in Merida, and we actually went to go see Chichen Itza, and the tour guide was very clear about how much murder there was there. How many things?
We've all seen Apocalypto. Thanks, buddy. Thanks.
No, and I swear to God. So we were there talking. It was like a legit archaeologist telling us all about it, and he mentioned the movie Apocalypto as like it was great. Like that showed like a little bit more accurate portrayal of like how much wood is there, because you only see the rocks left, and then he hates the ending because it's like here's white people coming in to ruin it. Fucking conquistadors, causing problems. But he did say that
he hates facts. He hates facts. Is that what
he hates? Hey, look, don't we all hate the real world these days? I play Dungeons and Dragons. I want to be an elf all the time. I don't want to live in the real world where we exist.
It would be great if Tarantino remade Apocalypto and is like, here's my spin to what should have happened.
My voice is the one that needs to be heard in this scenario. But no, we watched it. So my wife and I watched it, Apocalypto, and I forgot how good that movie was in terms of like how
Oof.
engaging it is,
Oof,
how
very.
intense it is, and then but also I hate that. Well, Mel Gibson, scandal noted, whatever
Right.
nonsense noted.
Problematic.
We get it. I'm not saying anything, but the movie itself stands alone as a good example of what I want to see shit like that more. Right? Like,
So here's a and I know you're not gonna agree with this, but or I feel as if you're not gonna agree with this. I don't want to claim as if I
let's
know
not make
you.
assumptions.
Yeah. Passion of the Christ is that good of a movie as well, except that it deals with a topic that a lot of people that is very polarizing. You get me? So, but he actually, if you watch that, Braveheart and Apocalypto, which are the 3 movies that he directed, there are a lot of similarities as far as filmmaking techniques, more so between all 3 of them, really. Like, he literally steals shots from himself, like slow motion shots of like of a huge crowd, and then like a demon in the background walking. Like, he does this all the time. So I say this to say, like, he's a really good filmmaker, but the topics are very polarizing.
I agree with you in that it was a very kind of like I don't think of him as a bad director. I just have I don't think of him as a bad filmmaker. That's my thing with him, is that I don't think of his, like, he's great in movies and things. Like, it's just that all of the stuff that's noted, especially with the Passion of the Christ and all of the all of the religious trauma on the planet, which kind of ties into Apocalypto, because it kind of buys into the whole like religious people. There's a scene in Apocalypto, one of the like climaxes of the movie, where, spoiler alert for this decades old movie, that he's about to be sacrificed. The main character is like about to be sacrificed to Kukulkan on one of these altars, and then there's a full fucking eclipse that blocks out the sun, and basically, the god has been satisfied. He's full now of blood and bodies, and the plague that's happening in this land will now end, and he gets to live. He gets to survive because of the eclipse. Now, basically, like, taking a natural thing that would occur whether it meant anything or not, it would just happen. Like, millions of years went by where, like, the dinosaurs saw eclipses and were like, who gives a shit? But because we put meaning onto things, we are like, the god is full. That's what that means, like,
well,
that.
In all fairness.
Oh, did we lose Neri again? Oh, no. This is when I prove.
Did you get me? I'm sorry. That wasn't a Wi-Fi. That was actually me pressing the mute on my new microphone. So that was not the Wi-Fi.
User error in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the fact that you gave the dinosaurs as an example. It's like, this eclipse has happened for millions of years. Dinosaurs saw it and didn't care. Like, yeah, but they also saw meteor showers and then they didn't care until they died. So maybe they should have cared. Maybe they should have fucking cared.
What would they have done? What would we do? What would we do if all of a sudden, like, we were looking up at
obviously,
the eclipse?
You send oil drillers up to the fucking asteroid. You fucking dig. Yeah. You make them dig. Trust me, they're gonna hit their mark. They have drilled everywhere and every kind of environment on the planet. They're gonna hit their mark. And then you put nuclear warheads inside, and then you blow it up before it gets to a specific dotted line threshold, so that it doesn't touch. It splits away. Come on, man. How do you not know this?
I know. Look, I'm sorry. I saw the documentary. I saw it. I know. Yeah. I can't believe I forgot. Whatever. I get it. The idea, I do think that, like, what if we were all just kind of looking up at the eclipse through our little goofy lenses, the little sunglasses, and all of a sudden it explodes, and then we're just like, well, we got about 8, like all of a sudden something like we're just like watching it happen, and we're just like, well, what do we do? Like, what would you do if all of a sudden it was just like, oh, right. Well, like, if a giant asteroid was coming, the dinosaurs couldn't have been like, no, thank you. Like, roar. Would have done nothing.
Roar.
Yeah. No, thank you, asteroid. Of course
not. Well, I think if in that case, I know a lot of people in this country, at least if that would happen, if they're looking at it and then there's a huge explosion, I know Fox News would be like, it's probably because of DEI.
It's probably, yeah. This is what happens when the Marvels is all female cast. This is what it is.
This is what happens.
This is what happens when Black Panther 2 gets nominated for an Oscar. This is the sun explodes.
Yeah.
I mean that there are people there's also I don't want to just blame Christians, because look, the Christianity side of it, we're talking about Passion of the Christ, all of these things that people put meaning onto, and now there's the whole like left-wing hippie weirdos who are like, oh, the aliens. That I don't know if you've seen the video of that girl that does she appropriates like 16 cultures at once. She talks about doing drugs in Peru and the pyramids, where how we time traveled with aliens or something like that.
Didn't they do that in the movie Get Him to the Greek? Isn't that what's his name's character?
Oh, which one?
So
I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I don't remember.
Right, so Forgetting Sarah Marshall, remember that one?
Yes.
Okay, that same character played by
Russell Brand.
Russell Brand. So that same character was in Get Into the Greek, but in that movie, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Sarah, the lead, the woman, she literally points out like 4 different tattoos on him. She's like, those are 4 different ideologies. She's like, you're all over the fucking place with this. And I think that's so you're describing Russell Brand in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's all of these. Well, no, it's like all of these people who are like, look, a lot of the people were claiming that the eclipse was going to be the rapture, and that all the Christians were going to be bamfed off on the earth, and good luck to us all. And I'm like, fingers crossed. Like, here's hoping.
I mean,
we all get what we want from that kid.
Thanos would be delighted.
Amazing, right? Like, Thanos, when you think about it, he's the rapture maker. That's what Thanos was. Like, he's just gonna blink a bunch of people and they go be with God. They go to heaven or whatever. But if the rapture does happen, doesn't that feel like kind of like everybody getting what they want?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
We could, like, the Christians get to go be with God, and then we can all just be like, okay, can we get
traffic is amazing. Traffic is amazing.
Yeah.
This traffic today was I got to work early. I got to work early, guys.
Can we stop the global warming now? Thank you. This is great. I mean, kudos to them for being right. Congratulations, but also thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
I would just, you know what, I would love it. This is what I would love if the rapture happened. I would love to see like the TV evangelists who didn't get raptured, how they would spin it, and they would be like, God told me that he's gonna keep me here because he wants me to bring the rest of them, to get the rest of them. It definitely had nothing to do with that scandal with that little boy. That had nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with
yeah.
God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers and torpedoes. I don't, like all.
Yeah,
I do like the idea of like a bunch of people suddenly realizing we're like, oh man, I'm not really what I said I was. Like there's proof. Like once there's undeniable
but
proof.
those people would somehow find a way to still spin it and be like, God must have made a mistake.
I mean, if the sun, there's a lot of like natural phenomenon that is just like going back to Apocalypto, like when it was there's a whole scene in that movie where he's like running through the jungle and then he uses like a frog poison to take a couple guys out, and then he falls into like quicksand and then uses the mud to protect himself from like hornets or something. Like there's a lot of like natural fun. Like that's why we exist. That's why I can make fun of people who believe in magic, because at one point the magic helped us live longer.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, and it was just explaining natural phenomenon where it's like, oh, the sun god is angry with us right now, and that's why the ocean is angry, and that's why it's sending all of its water to us now and flooding us out. It's like, okay, so now that we know what that looks like, well, let's build over here and let's do this, and then we can survive a little longer. Like all that stuff is to say, like we haven't moved past it. Like we're still doing that shit. Like there's still so many people.
I like the idea of like in the movie Troy, where they were like, "Oh, you're desecrating the temple of God," or whatever, and then Brad Pitt, his character Achilles says, "What if I told you that gods were jealous of us?" And it was like the first, and I was like, I remember thinking to myself, what if you put yourself in that time and you hear somebody speak craziness, because that to them that's craziness. Like, what? Why would the gods be jealous of us? You know what I mean? That kind of shit. And I just thought, like, that must have been the first critical thinker. Achilles is the first critical thinker.
Well, there's a bunch of people who I think that gets buried, because there are a lot of people who are like the people who are like, the gods only have power because we give them power and blah blah blah. And then someone's new god comes in, and then it's some sneaky fuck. It's the Patton Oswalt sky cake joke. You ever heard that?
No.
Where there's like Patton Oswalt has this joke where he talks about how in the past it was like the biggest and the strongest. Whoever is the biggest and strong eats, kills, fucks, whatever it wants. And then at some point some person came along, some weakling probably, and then was like, hey, if you don't kill and do all these things now, when you die, you'll go to heaven and get all the cake you want. And the guy's like, I like cake. And then boom, now you got religion, now you got everybody, and then everybody's like, oh yeah, sky cake, until you meet the people where like, actually what you get in heaven is cookies. And they're like, it's cake, motherfucker, I'll kill you. Like
yeah.
That's the bit. So like when you break it down like that, to me, I always just kind of like giggle and be like, sky cake,
But who doesn't want sky cake? I mean,
who doesn't want sky cake?
I mean, who doesn't want sky cake? I like the fact that in the bit, I know it's to make fun of religious people, but it's also like, yeah, but what if there really is sky cake?
But the guy who made it up knows there's no, like, he's just making it up. That's the thing. The guy who makes it up is the guy with that.
Well, look at the example of when the original Star Trek came out, and a lot of that technology now exists. But the guy who wrote the first Star Trek didn't. He was making shit up. But just because he was making shit up doesn't mean that it's also not possible.
You know what? You got me there.
I mean,
you got me,
guys.
There by the slimmest of marks.
I just cured atheism.
Yeah,
I got it.
You got me. I believe now.
All I'm saying is, I don't see anything wrong with believing in any one thing that doesn't hurt people. It's the hurting people.
The hurting
people is the thing, right? But if believing in a higher power helps you, live a happier life, then by all means. Now, once you start putting that belief onto others, and like, well, you gotta do something with your body because what I believe now, I'm okay. Now that's fucking ridiculous. That's absurd. But I just, I'm all for it. I've said this in the past. I am a believer of my religion, but I'm also all for people not being believers. I don't, that's on
right.
you.
Yeah, that's
if you don't want sky cake, if you don't want sky cake, baby, that's on you, baby. That's
I know.
More sky
cake,
more sky cake for me.
I love that the real reference of that. If you don't know what that reference is, and I were to say monkey pussy, you would be like,
more
what?
Pussy monkey, more
monkey pussy.
That's what one of my favorite. That's a great tag, but one of my that tags in that same joke that gets forgotten is like, how long I had to train a monkey to jerk me off without peeling my dick.
Oh man,
it was great.
Comedy.
Damn, it was great.
Anyway, the sun is missing, and if you have a try, you know what that reminds me of? Do you remember that the game show version of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Of course,
with the gumshoes, and you have to go, and there was always
cartoon,
something like
there was always a cartoon as well. Oh, it was great.
Yeah, the game show was always kind of my favorite because it was a legit kids game show, solid. Sure. There was the acapella group. God, I wish I could find. I wonder if.
There's no documentary. There's no documentary about pedophiles diddling kids on the show. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego.
There's no quiet on the set of that. Yeah.
There's no where in the world is the pedophile.
Where in the world did this guy run away to avoid extradition treaties after singing take that. Let me see. We can share this.
Yeah, I think so.
This is perfectly reasonable.
I mean, isn't that a thing? There are like whole YouTube channels based upon sharing and like Here's my
Yeah.
opinion of this. Look at this.
Yeah.
Well, she sneaks around the world from
So-
Virginia to Carolina. She's a sticky.
When I tell you this is a cultural touchstone moment for a
Yes.
lot of people,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
insanely important to a ton of us.
You don't
And-
understand what Mike just did. For those listeners who were born after 1992, what Mike just did was unlock a childhood memory.
I just
just-
activated
Yeah.
Winter Soldier somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is legitimately one of the craziest, like visceral memories. I wonder. I don't know if we can show this part, but yeah, this whole thing, and it was just these acapella dudes singing the theme song to one of the greatest theme songs of all time. I challenge. Missed it.
You know what? I gotta agree with this.
It's one of the greatest. No?
Yeah, no, you know what? We did an episode on Mount Geekmore about the greatest theme songs, and everybody on the panel missed this one, and I regret not having this on my mountain.
Oh my god, yeah, that's.
I mean, it
if
still would
nobody
have
put it
been
on the
number
map.
one. I think number one clearly belongs to Growing Pains. I think that's everybody's. It's fine. It's understandable.
My number one would have been Cheers, I think.
Well, we did it. We split it up by time frame, so it was like between
okay.
before 1981 and whatever. But it doesn't matter. I mean, either way, Cheers is not the best. It's not. It doesn't beat. But it's fine. It's fine. We're
Show
splitting
me the
hairs here.
smile again. No, it's another minute on your crying. Yeah, I remember that.
Did you know that was Alan Thicke singing that?
I don't think wrote it. I don't know if he sang it. I know he wrote
No,
it.
that was him singing it.
I really.
Yes, that's why.
I know he wrote it.
That was the one that's impressive, because you're like, oh, okay, whatever. But
Yeah.
he was singing. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And then you go back to listen to it, and you're like, yeah, I mean, I get it. It makes sense.
It sounds like him. Yeah,
Yeah, it
sure.
does.
Also, do you ever wonder, like, there's like different versions of the theme songs? You know how like when they do like the remix or they re-edit it for like later seasons, and it's just like, don't, how dare you stand where he stood or whatever, like, because every once in a while, let me see. Is that him really singing? That's
Yeah,
him?
well, I mean, you have the power of the Google machine. You could literally Google it right now. But that's what I was told, and that's what I heard once, and I didn't bother verifying. So I guess it's true.
God, it's pretty good.
I mean, come on, dude.
God, it's pretty
bonkers
good.
That's bonkers good, man.
I don't know. That's pretty good. It's a good one. It's a strong
Also,
contender.
There's also Full House. I mean,
There's a lot of those. Go back and check out MT Geekmore and find the back episode of TV theme songs because they exist in perpetuity somewhere around wherever.
Perpetuity. That's a good word. Perpetuity.
It is a solid word. That's a good one. Those are solid.
Because if you think about it, like the word perpetuity, like if you were to use that, like if a kid, you could just say forever, right? And then he's like, but how many times you've heard everybody says I love you forever, I'll love you forever, but nobody says I'll love you in perpetuity. Like, that sounds impressive. That's some shit.
He brought the law into this.
he
brought a thesaurus.
Oh yeah,
into
it's called marriage. That's what bringing the law into love means.
That was literally my wife and I were both when we were talking about getting married, we're like, do we really want to bring the government into this? And we're like, no, yeah, I love you so much. I want to bring the government. I want a legal contract that says that I love
you. It's like showing your boys, like, this is how much I love her. Like, hey, government.
Yeah.
I'll show you.
It's like, oh, you don't think I love my wife? Really? And then
you don't think I love this person?
You don't think I love this person? You don't think I love her? And then it's like, like stamp,
It always reminds me of that reminds me of that Key and Peele skit where they played gay lovers, and then they were like, they were so happy that gay marriage was legalized, because one of them was like, "Oh my God, we've been waiting for this day," and then the other one was clearly just using that as an excuse to not get married.
Yeah.
And he's like, "We're gonna get married tomorrow," and then Pio was like, I mean, we could kind of wait, whatever it is. What are you talking about? We've been waiting for this for years. Finally, it's happening. And he's like, it's just this whole like he didn't want to get married, but he was using that as an excuse. And I just thought,
That was
the government bringing shit into it.
That was like the episode of The Office with Ryan and Kelly, where she's like, "We can't get married until everyone can."
Oh shit! Did you that Ryan is such an underrated character. He's such a douchebag, underrated character.
Speaking of, well, this might segue into that show. Had one of the highest highs. And then at the end, it kind of like, like in terms of like once Michael Scott was no longer in the show.
I wasn't a big Michael Scott. I wasn't a big Michael Scott fan, so I get you. But I get what you're saying. I'm in the minority in this one. I understand. I'm not crazy.
The people I'm saying generally, like the general consensus is that. And look, I will say this. The reason why we talk about unhappy endings is because I talking about things that seemed like they were going to be good and then they just kind of ended badly. I saw that movie Argyle. Have you seen Argyle? I
have not. I literally am waiting. It comes out on Friday on Peacock, and I'm like, I could pay $15 now,
right?
Or I could wait till Friday, and I'm like, I'm gonna wait till Friday.
Okay. Oh look, who's in the chat. Hilda is with us in the chat right now. Also, if you're in the chat and you think if you saw the movie Argyle or another movie that you were disappointed with, spoiler alert.
Well, you're specifically disappointed in the ending, right? That's what
okay.
That's what
Here's the thing. I went into it not knowing, like it's got fucking blockbuster people in there, man. It's got Henry Cavill. It's got like Bryan Cranston's in it. Like it's got a lot of big name, Catherine O'Hara, like just like a lot of like cool people. And it's the guy who does Kingsman. I love the Kingsman movies. I'm a fan of them.
My brother. Yes.
I love the Kingsman movies. They're fun. They're dumb. They're crazy.
Well, did you watch Kingsman?
Yes.
Like
with fucking Rasputin doing
yes. Oh, dude, that was by far the best one. I thought that was the best one, and I'm a huge fan of all of them. But that one to me was the third. The second one. The
Statesman, the one with Pedro Pascal and Channing Tatum.
Yeah. I mean, there were cool things. There were cool things in that movie, but once you put the people in the physical cages, which I know now is possible. But when that movie came out, I was like, oh, that's just ridiculous. They would never
what an exaggeration.
Yeah, they literally did that. They literally put human beings in cages. And I remember saying that to me was where my suspension of disbelief went. And then like 2 years later, the government was like, look at people in cages. And I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. The idea, so like these movies are all fun in terms of like how much of a spectacle they
are. Wild and silly. Yeah.
Wild. Yeah. They're like James Bond on acid. Like it was like fun,
or James Bond in the 60s.
In the 60s. Yeah. A great way. Hilda says, I can't lie. I 100% went for the multi-hour Henry Cavill viewing option.
Sure.
He's not in the movie that
he's
much.
He's not really in the movie. Even from the trailer, I knew that Henry Cavill. That's why I didn't purchase tickets to go to the movie theater. Not because I didn't want to see it, because I travel and I work often. But I told myself, I'm like, dude, from the trailer, he's clearly a fictitious character that he's just on screen while she's narrating her novels. He's not going to be in the movie that often. That's what I understood from the trailer, which it seems like you're right. I was right.
So here's okay. Going into it, my wife and I, we had seen a movie called The Lost City with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock.
Sure.
And it's so close. It's so similar to the start of the movie. It's like they gave people here's like one script, the first act, and then the second and third act you do whatever you want.
Yeah, but can we just talk about how even that movie was a ripoff from the Michael Douglas and
Romancing the Stone.
Romance in the Stone. I mean, it was I was watching that Sandra Bullock movie, and I was like, this is Romance in the Stone. This is a fucking like a ripoff.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh boy, Jesus.
So look, it's a well played kind of like or well worn
trope.
genre trope, whatever you want to call it. But so I was like, oh, this is interesting. And we love our Henry Cavill too. I love a good Henry Cavill-a-thon.
I mean, if he's not cocking his arms, I don't know what's happening. What?
He's jacked in this movie. He's so like big that his suit looks weird. It's crazy. The whole point of the movie, and once I realized like, oh, this is going to be kind of like a fantasy fun thing, and at a certain point in the movie, it stops being fun, like where they beat you over the head with it. Where I was like, if they would have stayed the beginning, like the same kind of energy, it would have been fine. But it was one of those things where I was like, this is a lot of fun. And then at a certain point, my wife and I were both looking at each other like, yeah, hasta cuando coño? Like, what? Come on, we get it. Yes,
much fun.
Yes.
Too much fun.
They abandoned the fun. They abandoned the fun part and started trying to be this kind of different movie, like action-y kind of like romance movie. And I was like, I get it. And then to cap it all off, once you're already kind of like tired of the whole storyline progressing, and then the reveal, like spoilers, abound. I don't know if I'm going to accidentally reveal stuff, but it becomes this kind of thing of like, okay, that should have. It was like in Clerks 2 when he was like the Lord of the Rings, where like, how many fucking endings does this movie need? It was literally like they could have ended it like a bunch of different times. And then they did a scene where I want to say, I don't know how to describe it, but a woman ice skates with knives on her shoes on oil. And at that point, they had done a pretty decent job of separating what was like the fantastical thinking and like how crazy and all this is what's happening in her mind versus what's actually happening. And I'm like, they could have literally done anything else, but it was like, okay, this is too much. Like it broke it for me. And at a certain point, I was like, fuck this movie. God damn, it was fun until it wasn't. And I was like, man, did this ruin the whole movie for me? Maybe. But like, it just like fell off at the end, much like a post Michael Scott Office. Right. So that's why that's why I was thinking about this movie Argyle. And while we were talking about like, what is it like for you? Is there a movie that has ended so poor, like that you were fully enjoying, and then at the end you were like, ugh.
So I'm gonna say this, knowing full well that I stand on a mountain. I live on a mountain. I'm gonna die on this mountain alone on the island. But it's No Country for Old Men. I fucking loathe.
I've heard people. Yes.
I loathe.
You're not as alone as you think you are.
I loathe that ending. I thought that ending alone should have disqualified it from being nominated, much less won the Academy Award. I was distraught. I was angry. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, it had been a while since I had seen a movie that was both critically raved about and popular at the same time, that I was like, all right, I'm excited to watch this movie. And I was digging it the whole way through. And then the ending happened. And I was like, oh, fuck. I was just like, no, we're done. Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. Yeah.
Because is it because like, what about, is it because the characters are killed off screen or because you don't get the closure? I don't
get the closure. I don't get the closure. And I hate this bullshit that directors are like, find your own closure. No, bitch. For that I read a book. You are the fucking filmmaker. You give me the closure. Like you, right. even to me, the worst part about No Country for Old Men is that it had no ending.
Right.
Even a bad ending is like, well, that's the way the filmmaker decided to go with it. That's where he decided to go with it. That's what he decided to do. The No Country for Old Men is like, no, it's to the extent of it's the same thing, and I don't get as mad about it, maybe because I'm now desensitized because of shit like No Country for Old Men. But when I was watching The Sopranos, which by the way, I didn't watch I didn't watch The Sopranos up until a year ago. So when I was watching The Sopranos, I think that because I already knew that black screen ending was coming.
Right,
It didn't bother me as much.
It wasn't a surprise.
Yeah, it wasn't a surprise. But I
Yeah.
believe I would have been pissed off about that ending too. I would have been like, "What? No, you can't just."
But don't
Not
you,
even a fade. Not even you're just gonna cut to black. Not even a fade to black.
But are you one? Okay, so do you believe? Are you one of the people who believe that he lives or he dies?
Well, if you would have asked me this after watching the show, I would have been like, "No, he lived." However, I've read interviews with the creator of the show since saying that he died, and I'm like, "Well, I guess he died because the creator said he died. I guess." But I didn't see it, so therefore that's the problem with that type of ending. If I like Tarantino's take on this. Tarantino has said that he has the backstories and he knows all the answers to every question that people ask about his movies, including what's in the suitcase. He has said, "I know what's in the suitcase." He's also said in the same breath,
the famous Pulp Fiction suitcase.
Pulp Fiction suitcase, and he's also said in the same breath, "I will never tell anybody what's in the suitcase because I don't want to ruin the theories that everybody has floating around. I don't want to ruin that for them. To them, that's what's in the suitcase, and I don't want to ruin that for them." So if that's the way you're gonna go about it, that's fine. But what the creator of The Sopranos did, and I forget his name, it's escaping me right now.
Chris Carter?
No, no, that's not the creator of The Sopranos. So when he did the interview, he said, "Yeah, Tony died," and I'm like, "Well, why didn't you just shoot that then? Why didn't you film that? And why didn't you give David Chase? Why didn't you give that to us? If you are gonna fucking go out in the open and verbally, publicly say Tony Soprano died or he was murdered, then just give it to us. If not, then shut the fuck up and be like, well, it all depends on what you like. Give us that bullshit. It's one of the two. You can't do both. You can't not give us the ending and then tell us the ending. Fuck out of here." So
there's a couple things. Like everybody talks about Game of Thrones. My wife loves Game of Thrones. She has no qualms about how it ended. But she watched it all in one go. Like I think during quarantine. I don't remember exactly when she watched it, but she watched it all in like one big chunk, right?
Sure.
Pretty much. So she wasn't as like bummed about the whole ending. Didn't I watch an episode at your house of the end when it was happening? Remember?
That might be so. Yeah, maybe.
And I was like, was it? It was like one of the first two episodes where it was like the battle with the Dothraki, and I was just like, this is dark, like visible, like not just
visually dark,
visually dark, not just because
optically,
like the brightness of the yes,
optically dark. Yeah.
And it was like and I was like, what's wrong? And the vibe was completely like, oh, was this bad?
I remember my favorite joke that I made. I was like, I feel like I'm watching scrambled porn. Like I gotta figure shit out on my own. Is this a magic painting? I thought is this one of those magic paintings where you just look at and then you gotta separate yourself? And I didn't know what was happening. There was a lot of snow, and you just look like,
there was a lot of like that kind of like, am I supposed to be guessing, or is this like in that movie Signs, where M. Night Shyamalan has just everything dark and you just hear everything going on around you? Like, am I not supposed to see things? This is genius then, because I can't see shit.
Have you ever seen the episode of South Park where there's they kill Kenny? God kills Kenny because Kenny is the best one at a video game, and that video game is really how the war takes place between heaven and hell.
Oh shit.
And so now he's in heaven. Kenny is in heaven. And he is with a handheld video game system, and he's controlling whatever. And all you see as the viewer is Kenny, and then an angel around him going like, "Oh my God, this is so amazing. This fight scene is the best fight scene I've ever seen." And it's literally him saying, "This is better than anything that Lord of the Rings ever made." And it's just him saying that. But we, the audience, are only seeing Kenny playing his Game Boy.
Yeah.
For his, you know what I mean? It's just a fucking hilarious type of shit.
It's one of those is it too expensive to do? Just do it off camera and have somebody go, "Oh shit."
Oh, and that's one of the comments that the angel was saying. He's like, "Oh, wow, it must have cost a fortune to make these graphics." Like it was just like It was genius, but I think that's maybe. But again, to say that for Game of Thrones is like you had all the money in the world. You had everything you could.
There was a lot, right? So I say that to say
if you could afford Starbucks on your set, you could afford
exactly.
You could afford.
the fucking cup. There was so much around that time where people were just like, what is going on? You know, like it was just so disappointing for like everyone who was I'm gonna say everyone for a lot of people. And then to the point where when House of the Dragon came out, I had to fight myself to watch it.
I'm still not there. I have not watched House of the Dragon for multiple reasons. One being, everybody who knows me knows I like watching shows when they're completed because I could just binge all the way through it.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of that. But the other thing is, I'm like, and again, I'm not one of those people that was like, this is the worst ending ever, you should remake it. I'm not that fucking guy. But I'm also the guy that goes, you kind of killed it for me. I don't really care about going back.
Well, because if you go back, that means that it's not going to change anything that's going to happen in the future.
That's the problem.
Like that's the thing, is we know that it ends in a way that we're unsatisfied with.
Yeah.
So who cares? It's like, yeah, the battle between these feuding houses, like, who gives a shit?
It ends like shit for everybody.
Exactly. Like, I would have rather them jumped forward to another point in history, like completely separate, and then be like, yeah, Bran the Broken fucking died, or whatever. You know, like
I would have rather fucking Doctor Strange come and open a portal and be like, we have another dimension.
Literally every Marvel thing now. Or I have a theory about the Star Wars universe where, like, as someone who is not a fan of the sequels, I think that
even Rogue.
No, Rogue One is I don't know what you would call it, but it's in the original canon. I'm talking about the sequels, the ones, the 7, 8, 9.
No, I know, but it's
the
also
Disney ones.
But Rogue is also a Disney one.
Yes, but you get what I'm saying. You fully understand what I'm going for.
I was just trying to pick holes at your fucking. I don't like the sequels except for this one. That's the greatest movie that ever existed. It's like, oh, okay.
Good. I mean, look, it has its flaws, but it is fucking great.
Great.
I'm not a fan of the sequels. So my theory of, like, my bullshit fanboy theory, which I don't really have a dog in that fight. I've never understood the fans of, like, any project that will go and talk shit to an actor like they had any say in the matter of how their character was treated in the writing of the sequel.
But you're also an actor yourself, so you know what it's like to get a script and be like, yeah, this is what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, okay, I need to get paid, right? The check clears, got it, and understand.
You got it. What do you want me to say? Dingleberries? Yay! Well, you got it. Sure, dingleberries. Whatever it is, all of the stuff that they introduced in Rebels with the world between worlds, where he pulls Ahsoka out of the, I don't know if anybody even knows how this deep cut this is, but they did it in the Ahsoka show. Also, they go to the world between worlds, and then they introduce this whole other galaxy. I think they're just trying to get away from that as much as possible, because in my mind, I'm like, the ultimate answer for correcting any of this shit is time travel. You know, like the fucking
alternate
smart
timeline,
Hulk meme.
Yeah.
And the second you go back, you can do like a back in time thing or whatever, because then it feels like a cop out. It feels like a cop out where somebody was just like, yeah, we fucked up. We don't want to abandon the merchandise that we've already created for this property. We don't want to abandon any of this stuff, because then people will just
that's the reason. Well, that's the reason why episodes 8 was so vastly different than 7. And it was like, you know, people hated Ryan Johnson's, you know, take on it because it was dramatically, or the other way around, right? 8 from 9, or 9 from 8.
Yes.
So people hated Ryan Johnson's take on it, and so they brought in J.J. Abrams, the savior, the geek savior. And then J.J. Abrams was like, well, if I just go back to correcting what you guys want me to correct, then it's just going to be a carbon copy of the other fucking part 6. So I guess we'll do that.
7.
I guess.
Yeah. In my opinion, I don't like the J.J. Abrams. I don't like 9 more than I don't like either one, because they didn't have a plan. Like they didn't have like a big picture.
Well, 8. I think 8 had a plan, but then the backlash was so much that the plan was abandoned. And it was ultimately like, let's fix what we fucked up on 8. But like, oh boy.
And it's come out so much that it's like the network. It's what's happening now with like any kind of like studio interference, like the money people, like what happened to Boeing, right? Like what's happening with like parts are falling off airplanes, and then they go back and they realize it's like, oh yeah, we made the finance people in charge of the engineering, and we fired all the engineering people.
Yeah.
And it's like, no wonder our parts are falling off.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like with like everything right now. Like all the Warner Brothers stuff that was going on with the like Batgirl getting like canned.
Ugh, so
the
bullshit.
Acme versus Coyote versus Acme movie that they're just like, it's fully shot, it's fully ready to be released, and they're like, no, we just need to make money off of the insurance of not release. So when money people start making decisions, like in Star Wars, which is this giant Disney property, and they're like, we need to make as much money as possible, everyone starts to stick their fingers in to what it is, and then at a certain point you're like, hey, can you guys stop sticking your fingers in this thing? And then you get fired for being the guy that's like, well, I guess I was the scapegoat. They bring in somebody else who has no idea what they were planning. And then it's like garbage. I've read the script.
And then we get the
original line,
Snyderverse. And then we get the Snyder version.
which is also, you know, good, but not like.
But it's another example of like the company being like, we know best, and this is what we're gonna do, and we need to make this movie under 2 hours, and all this. It's just what happens when you put business in front of an art form. It's an art, right?
It's
an art.
literally, someone made the analogy to me, or I saw it in a video or something, where it was somebody's like, oh, do you like salt on your food? And it's like, yes, I love salt on your food a little bit. We'll bring out a ton of flavor. It's like, oh, this guy likes fucking salt. Give him a fucking plate of salt.
Yeah.
And you're like, no. I need it to be balanced. I need flavors to be balanced. Like salt can't be the only. It'll ruin whatever, you know. Even if it's good, if you add that much, it will be bad. Then they're like, okay, this guy, you know. And all of a sudden, it's like, what? Why are you complaining? We gave you all the salt you wanted. And it's like, well, I don't think you fully understand the point of what salt does. So in that sense, all these money people are just like dropping, like they're like trying to like shovel money numbers instead of like art numbers.
Let's go back. What is the worst ending to a movie that you were enjoying previously before the ending?
Before this Argyle one was like a tough call because it was really fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but what's the best movie with the worst ending?
Ooh, I don't really know. I'm struggling because normally I would just not like, that's my problem, is that if the ending sucks, maybe Game of Thrones, but if the ending sucks, it
ruins the movie for me.
It ruins the whole experience.
I think here's what I think, and this is gonna sound however it's gonna sound coming from me, especially. I think the original Superman movie had the worst fucking ending. I hated that ending so much. Never liked it. The spinning the earth backwards, going back in time. I just thought, this is such a shit. You turn an otherwise amazing movie into just shit. And nobody agreed. And everybody's like,
yes. There,
like that, that's the epitome. Like that's you did everything wrong in that movie. Everything wrong in that moment. Is like Superman is selfless. That is the most selfish thing he could have done. And
that brutal. Like letting somebody have died would have been
he gave up his he saved the earth by sacrificing the one person he loved, the one person that got him. Like that's noble. And Superman was like, I can't take that. I'm gonna go fucking back in time. I'm gonna press rewind on this and go backwards.
Yeah, I just Googled it just to kind of refresh my memory of the worst movie endings of all time. And on the list is one of them is War of the Worlds.
Sure.
The Steven Spielberg one, which I remember people getting like pissed off about, where they're like, germs? You don't think the aliens knew what germs were? You know,
like you do all this research, like you're gonna invade a planet and you do all this research. It's the same thing with the movie Signs. You do all this research.
That's on the list. Number 5 on this list I'm looking at.
There you go.
All of a sudden, it's like, oh, the water is bad for these things, and they're trying to take over a planet that's mostly covered in water. Like, okay, sure.
Okay, sure.
Law-abiding citizen is on this list, where people so it says here that the law-abiding citizen, it's Gerard Butler trying to convince Jamie Foxx's character that you have to break the law to get change done. And there's a bomb or whatever in City Hall. It turns out that the bomb that was planted in City Hall ended up in his own prison cell, courtesy of the lawyer, whatever. And then it came out
being Jamie Foxx.
The lawyer being Jamie Foxx, right? And then there was like a whole other ending. People were like, "Oh, this doesn't feel right," and they argued against it. and then there was actually like a better ending, and then it was like that was disputed between again the studio, and then they were like no, you can't even film it. Don't even film that ending. You know, another one on this list. The Life of David Gale. Did you ever see that movie? The one with Kevin
Great,
Spacey?
yeah.
And
Great.
and
I mean, now that I know what I know about Kevin Spacey, I mean, the ending is better now.
Right. Yeah, good for him. Yeah, but basically, it's like how he deserves to get the death penalty versus is he innocent or is he not, and all this stuff, and it's basically like the ending kind of undoes all of the arguing that they do against the. It's basically like saying like nobody
because they purposely withheld evidence,
right?
And so he got the death penalty based upon the evidence that was presented, but he and the person he killed, which was a friend of his, purposely did that on purpose because they were such fanaticals of anti-death penalty.
Right? So it was like all a ploy. It was all a plan. It was all a scam. And then, oops, you know. But they were right, but they were wrong, but they were right, you know. Right. And then the other one, I think finally the one that I think I might agree with the most, which was one of the hardest for me to process in the moment. I remember feeling this in the moment. Dark Knight Rises. With like as the trilogy, it could have ended so much better.
I have so many issues with that movie that the ending really it doesn't, to me, it doesn't belong on the list only because it wasn't a great movie for me. I had so many issues with that movie to begin with. The fact that you never brought up the Joker or Heath Ledger ever.
They never
not even a mention is very disheartening. That's very disrespectful to Heath's memory, to the Joker's memory. And then I was there's a lot going on with that one. The whole fucking broken back with a karate chop, fixing the broken back with a karate chop. There's a lot that I had a problem with that movie.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, look, we all there's like,
but you still haven't answered your question. Which is the best movie that you say, man, this movie was great, but I hate this ending?
I will say I've changed my mind since then. But when Tron Legacy came out, and they were able to suck the girl out of the computer and bring her onto the back of the dude's motorcycle in the real world, I was like, this is bullshit. I don't like it. Like immediately, I was like,
"That's the part that's bullshit." That's the part.
So, like, the thing is that at no point, like, people get sucked into the computer all the time. Neri, it happens. It's happened to me. You know, who hasn't it happened to?
Who doesn't get sucked off by the computer?
Who doesn't get sucked off by a computer? It happened in the 80s. We've had that technology for decades.
Right.
Right. You know, like Jeff.
But we all know it doesn't go the other way around.
Why? How could it?
Right. That's impossible.
And then I've gone back because I literally love every bit of that movie up until that moment. I did up until that moment. And then in the years since, you know, like I'll put it on just to have like some cool, like the Daft Punk music is awesome.
Sure.
The visuals are great. That actor I forget the guy's name, but the main character guy, fully engaging. Jeff Bridges being a fucking hippie weirdo in a computer, awesome. Olivia Wilde being this, you know, manic pixie dream girl, whatever those stereotypes are. You know, like it's all fun, it's all crazy, it's all interesting, it looks amazing. I really enjoyed all the action sequences, the fucking light cycles, everything was great. And then at the end, it's just kind of like, I'll just what. Since then, I've realized I'm an idiot.
Yes,
because. Yes. At a certain point, they even say that she has like DNA, like it created DNA. So even if they didn't have anything to read, it would have given her. She could have popped out of the computer. Why not?
Possible. Of course, it's possible.
Within the rules of the world, the computer could suck out too. You know what I mean?
Not just suck in, but
not just suck in, but suck out.
Right.
But yeah, that one was the hardest for me to process because I love the first Tron. It was one of my favorite movies, and the Tron Legacy was this awesome thing. And then I remember leaving the theater going, man, I don't like this, you know, and it was this made no sense to me. And then,
it's fucking with my childhood. That's the worst one. I hate that fucking phrase.
I really don't like that one. Anyway,
I hate that phrase.
That I think that might be the first one, but I have since recanted.
I googled great movies with bad endings.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of them which I kind of get. I understand this list, but there's one that I don't know anybody who would agree with this, and it's the movie Seven.
Oh. No, that movie ends fucking great.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know. Google, I think you're broken.
No.
I don't know if you searched what I put great movies with bad endings.
Yes.
And the movie 7 comes out, and I'm like, no, Google, this is wrong. 7 is that the
Seven's-
best part about the movie is the ending.
It's the whole point that the bad guy wins. That's literally
Yes.
the whole point of that's great. That's like the law-abiding citizen not being able to do the good ending.
Yeah.
How much better would that movie have been if it would have ended up the way they want, Yeah, like
You live
it's
long
great.
enough to become the villain. This is what happened. What are you talking about? This is a great
That's
ending.
100%. Look, on this list also Titanic, people get mad about the letting Leo die thing.
I get mad about bringing him back. This whole fucking like that last shot. I get it metaphorically. It's like, oh, she
Sure.
died and she went to heaven, and then that's where they
Right,
met up
right.
again. But here's the shit. Here's the part. This lady dies, right? It's been 87 years or 84 years, right? That she hasn't seen this guy. One night stand. She dies. She goes to heaven. She doesn't see her husband that she had an entire life with, children and grandchildren
Yes!
with. Like she sees she sees Leonardo DiCaprio, that one night stand, that hot piece of ass from back in her 20s.
That poor son of a bitch she was slumming it with that one night.
That one night.
Date the boat sank.
Which just goes to show you, like, that's good dick. That's what good dick would do.
That's why he's dating all these.
Yeah.
That's why he stops dating these 25-year-olds.
Happy birthday. Our contract is over.
Yeah, exactly.
So
wow.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, that's a rough one. I mean, look, there's a ton of movies where people will always like debate the endings, but there's some where I'm just like, this may have ruined the movie for me, and it does. A bad ending can ruin a whole movie for me.
But I like the fact that you say that, but you only gave one example.
There's a bunch of other ones.
Even that you recanted. I'm trying to hold your feet to the fire and give me a fucking
otherwise I
movie.
just think it's a bad movie. I don't know. If it's a bad movie, it's just a bad movie.
But a good movie that you just hate the ending.
But that's the thing. I can't think of it as a good movie because I just think
don't
of it as
separate
a
it.
bad one.
Oh,
I don't separate it.
Yeah,
I can't. Like another one on this list. We were talking about it when we were coming up with the things for the show. Planet of the Apes, the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes.
I like that movie a lot.
That movie.
That movie was great.
That
movie got shitted on, man.
It's totally a Tim
It
Burton.
was cool as shit. It was seeing. It was a tip of the hat to the original, and it was like the Lincoln Memorial as a fucking ape. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That makes so much like they just recreate, like it's just a metaphor for them recreating the same bullshit that we created with our existence, and you'd think that they'd have be somewhat more noble. It's the same shit.
It's a tip of the hat to the original. It's fucking really good, man. I don't know. People shit on that movie. Paul Giamatti doing what Paul Giamatti does.
Dog. Paul Giamatti is my favorite guy because he talked about it when he talks about that role. He's like, they're gonna do CG or they may just want you to do the voice, and he's like, you put me in that fucking makeup or I quit. Like he's like, you turn me into a fucking monkey. You know,
turn me into an ape, motherfucker. You know what would be fun? I forget his name now. I'm having a brain fart. The guy from Hannibal,
Mads Mikkelsen.
No, the guy who was in the who had his face chewed off, and like he had all the actor in the movie. He's like super known for Omen. Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman, yes.
Oh, Gary Oldman. I would love to have a movie with Gary Oldman and Paul Giamatti where they're both in makeup, in heavy makeup, because both those motherfuckers are game, dude. Those are like
they are down. Yeah, they are fucking in for it. Yeah,
yeah.
I love those guys. Yeah, if the movie ends bad, it's bad to me. You know, that's my current dilemma.
I mean, it does kill the movie. Like I don't think I've ever gone back to watch No Country for Old Men. Just because I remember the anger that I felt, the disappointment that I felt. It was more than disappointment. It was anger. I was really angry.
You sound angry.
Yeah, and I have yet to go back to rewatch that movie. That movie killed so many things for me. It killed that. It killed that movie. Killed that. And then I don't like Javier Bardem. And I'm like, this is like bad. Why is this guy? And then he was in everything. He's been in everything.
He's been in everything. Yeah,
they made him Ricky Ricardo. I'm like, this is the most insulting shit to Hispanics that I can fucking think of.
Yeah.
This guy.
Spaniards taking all of our jobs. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, look, we got to talk about, hey, if you're watching this and you're following us at WUBroPod on everything, you can submit your claims of movies that are good, ruined by a bad ending, or movies that people think end bad, but you enjoy.
Like
And
7.
you can follow us at Mike Mercadal at Nary Science.
You know
We'll
what
just keep
ending
getting
was
them.
awful? You know what when we was ending? Usual Suspects. Ugh.
Yeah, right. Like what? He can walk fine now?
Oh,
It's so
that's
stupid.
so stupid. That's so stupid.
We got to talk about it because it's on the thing, the list of things to talk about. I have not watched wrestling in a long time.
All right, so
You are going to have to bring me up to speed on
All
what
right.
the
I don't wanna-
novela, that
all
soap
right,
opera, is
so
going.
I gave up on wrestling as a long time as well. I've been trying to get into it a couple times in the last few years, and I don't know the names of these people, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't know what's happening, but every once in a while I'll watch. So last year I watched one with my son, and my son he's like, oh, this is cool. And then I watched what was it, King of the Ring, SummerSlam, I forget which one it was, but I watched it with him recently, like in December or January or something, and then we had a good time with it. So watching it with my kid, it gives me a different feel to it.
I will. That's got to give you a
Yeah.
different in. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I will say this. Either way, I was still like, from a distance, I'll be like, oh, what's happening? Yeah, whatever. Who's this guy? Yeah, whatever. And then, but I'll just like keep my ear to the ground, and then like my algorithm every once in a while throws this or whatever. But then fucking Rock came back, and bro, I mean,
is he like still the Rock? Like, is he not skip
so
the beat?
so dude, it's so. All right, so he came back, and the whole thing is that his cousin Roman Reigns, champion. So The Rock came back to say, "Hey, I'm gonna challenge this guy to be the head of the table." That's his phrase is, "I'm the head of the table," whatever.
Right.
And The Rock came back to be like, "Well, I'm gonna sit at the head of the table." And I was like, "Oh shit!" But what The Rock did was he impeded another storyline that's been going on for like 5 years, which is Cody Rhodes.
5-year storyline?
Yeah, Cody Rhodes is a wrestler that he's the son of Dusty Rhodes, a wrestler from the 80s. And his Dusty Rhodes never held a championship. He never won the championship. So his son, his son Cody has been trying to win the championship, quote, for his dad to finish the story. That's been the phrase that's been going on. Oh, finish the story, but he has not won a championship either. So when The Rock came back to challenge his cousin, half the WWE audience was like, "But what about Cody?" So then they called an audible, and then Cody got into it with The Rock, and then The Rock went full fucking heel. He went full bad guy,
like corporate Rocks, like back in the day.
So not only corporate Rock, but so after corporate Rock, there was also another iteration of a heel, which was Hollywood Rock, when he was started making movies, and he came out in his little leather vest, and he came out like, whatever, and he just came out talking about how stupid the audience was because he's a Hollywood guy now and he makes Hollywood movies and blah blah blah. So fast forward all these years later, he was a good guy, people loved him, and then he decided, I'm gonna go full heel, and he fucking slapped the shit out of Cody Rhodes at just like a press conference, open hand slap, and he turned full heel again, and the world ate it up. Like the wrestling world just was like, yes, give me some more of this. He came back into, now he's wearing, remember when he was wearing Versace shirts back in the day, The Rock?
Back in the day when he would buy shirts at Lucky's from Daylight Mall.
Right. So now he comes back and he's wearing Versace vests because he went Versace shirts with the vest of the Hollywood Rock, and now he's this guy. And his new moniker, because he sits on the board of WWE RKO, which is the company that owns WWE. His new moniker is the Final Boss, and I'm just like, holy! Like it just opened up, like it brought back. Like, and this is why I was having this conversation with Jeff and Missy, who are both wrestling fans, more so than I am currently. And I just said, can we just skip the conversation about the greatest wrestler of all time? Because The Rock single-handedly brought back the Attitude Era by himself.
Do you think, look, as someone who, man, I watched pay-per-views. I was I made signs when I went to fucking Armageddon to go to a pay-per-view. I had tickets. I would go watch this stuff. I would watch WCW Nitro. I was into all of it. I was a part of all of it. And I don't know if that's true. Like the Attitude Era was like this. like universe.
Okay, but you haven't. But you have not watched it. You have not watched. So this is. I'm gonna send you the clip of how they do the trailers of like recapping of like what's been happening in the last couple months, whatever. I'm gonna send you that trailer, and you're gonna be like, "This is the fucking greatest thing." It literally. So you're like the one. You're an example. Yeah, you're an example of what you're like one of the few people who haven't. People are saying he's on the Pat McAfee show. Like people are now literally on Sports Center are saying the phrase "wrestling is cool again." The main media is saying this shit, like wrestling is cool again, and it's because of the fucking Rock. It's bonkers. It's bonkers. Like it's just he's taking it to another stratosphere, bro. It's bonkers.
All right. Well, send me the thing. Do you have it right there right now or no? What's it called?
I don't have it right there. Just look up the Rock, the final boss versus Cody Rhodes. Road to WrestleMania, I guess, is what I will Google, and it's just fucking bonkers, man. It's so good. The storyline, he went full villain. He was hitting this guy with a weightlifting belt. He made him bleed. There was blood on wrestling again. It was awesome. He was cursing. He was like, "I don't give a fuck if the cameras are off. Turn this shit back on." And he was like, it was just so good, dude.
Yeah, I there's a lot. Needless to say, there's a lot of people on YouTube who comment about wrestling, and everything. There's a
lot of virgins. We have a lot of virgins in this country.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit going on in the YouTube search results. So either way, you send it to me.
I'll send it to you. The Rock posted. He did it last week, the week leading to WrestleMania. He posted it on his Instagram, but he posted it in 4 different installments. So he'll post like part 1, part 2. So I don't want to but that's what's ultimately what I'm going to have to end up sending you. Is like this is how we got here.
Right.
So
I'm curious to see if I am still of the mindset to be able to watch wrestling as much as I did.
Okay.
I would watch it every
so week. WrestleMania is now 2 days. The cool thing about WrestleMania now is that you don't have to pay for it. It's on the Peacock app. It's included in the Peacock app.
Is it for free? Do I need to pay Peacock app? Because I don't have I have the app, but I don't pay for nothing.
Well, I have the app and I pay for whatever, but I don't have to pay for WrestleMania. There's no like added like special paywall for that. So I don't know if you would have to watch it with maybe just ads. I don't know.
I guess.
But it's really it was fucking great, man.
I'm curious. Send me the things and we'll talk about it. If you're watching right now, if you're listening on the on the audio format, I want other people's opinion about this. Because I get that you love The Rock so much. He's your guy.
It's because I'm human.
Because you're human.
Because I'm alive.
He's an icon to say the least. Whether or not you like him as an actor or whatever, it doesn't matter. He was like the peak best wrestler, total package, professional wrestler in sports entertainment with a mic, and he was great physically. Like he was good at performing and then doing the actual wrestling. So I'm curious if the storylines can inspire the same kind of like, oh shit, in me, without that system of like disbelief that I have of like, oh yeah, whatever. Like if I wonder if I'm still able to watch it as a show as opposed to this is bullshit, kind of thing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like when I was in high school and like a teenager, it was like, yeah, this is amazing. Like
I don't understand.
I get that it's bullshit. I get that it's bullshit.
I don't understand. Wait, I don't understand. What do you mean by bullshit? I don't understand when that's happening here.
Oh, Neri, we got to talk about this off camera. Well, I'm so sorry to tell you. I'm so sorry. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We did it. I'm going to take this off podcast right now, and we're going to have a very real conversation to discuss the truth. It's still real to me, damn it. Yeah.
It's still real to me.
Neri, is there anything we're promoting? Do you want to promote anything?
Well, no, because I have my album coming out, but it's been delayed by a couple of weeks, so I don't want to give an exact date anymore.
Oh, right.
I don't want to give an exact date, but I do have, I do have the my album coming out, so be on the lookout for that. Is what I'm saying.
Awesome. well, keep on up. Follow him at Nary Science. Follow me at Mike Mercadal on all social media. And also, for I'm doing a show called with my friend Will Watkins, friend of ours, a comedian, very funny guy. But
I don't want to say friend. I mean, he's all right.
he's all right. No, man, we're
Yeah, he's
trying
great.
to
He's
do
fucking great.
Have you seen? I've been posting some clips about it, and it is.
Yeah, of course I've seen it. Yeah.
It's been super mentally fulfilling and very nice to talk about, like, wanting to be better. It's like almost therapeutic. I don't want to call it therapy, but it's therapeutic. And it's called,
here's what I'll say. There's a phrase that I heard from Mario Lopez, and I don't know if he coined it or whatever the fuck, but I heard it from him. And he said that he works out so much because it's more about sanity than it is about vanity. And I think that is anybody who exercises, as someone who, and again, I haven't even exercised in 3 weeks. I have a wrist problem, a wrist injury anyways. But anybody who I think I live by that mantra. I like that mantra. It's about sanity, not vanity, and I think it's great.
It's more about sanity than vanity. And quote Mario Lopez.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if he, you know what I mean. It's like that phrase. By the way, I just sent you the link of that the Instagram reel. But sure. I think I don't want to give him I give him the credit because that's where I heard it from. I don't know if that's something that Jim Bros say all the time, and I'm
sure.
fucking,
well, the name of the show,
yeah,
if you follow at Zeros on Heroes on all social media, I'm putting him up there. It's just part of the Zeros on Heroes right now. And we started calling it Just Trying to Look Like You, where you know how like you're in the gym and you're like looking good, bro, just trying to look like you. That the gym bro culture, I think, has shifted to like a bunch of guys just being, or a bunch of people just kind of being very supportive of each other if you're there for the right reasons, So
I said this to Missy. I said this to Missy like 3 years ago when I started exercising and trying to lose weight, and Missy was like very scared to go to the gym because she didn't want people judging her. And I think that, and I told her, and this is something that I think many people do. I think that we're just projecting those feelings because from my experience at the gym, it's always been helpful. Yep. It's always been like a positive atmosphere. But then again, I'm a guy. I'm not a woman, so I can't know where.
Totally different.
Yeah. Totally different. But as far as guys go, like, people talk shit about CrossFit culture or whatever. And I go, dude, every CrossFit class I've ever had has been super positive. Has been like, bro, you can do it. Come on, I got you. And it's been that. Like, I've never experienced. But then again, I'm a guy. I get it. But I've always experienced that. I've only experienced that with fitness, in the world of fitness. And I've always gone into it like, I've gotten more shit about Star Wars. Like, hey, I like the Star Wars movie. You don't fucking know because you're not a real fucking. I'm like, oh my God, Jesus Christ. All right, I'm so sorry. I've never gotten that. I've never gotten that from the fitness world. I've never gotten like, you fuck. What do you know? Like, I don't. I'm asking. Can you help me with this? I don't know.
I will say the start of this show. The reason why it came up is that Will was talking to me about fitness stuff. I know I think you've messaged him about some stuff, and I was like every once in a while send me a workout, and he's just kind of a genuine, like, he's got an amazing. He's definitely earned his stripes. He's earned his credibility because he's taken his body under his control. And the thing is
I mean, anybody can do that if you like work hard and like don't ever stop and you watch what you eat and you watch what you eat. Like, oh, please, come on.
So it started, I'm telling you, the work hard and don't ever stop, like all of the sarcasm and all that stuff aside, like we wanted to talk about it genuinely. Like,
sure,
we had to unlearn bad behaviors. It's like health, like complete health, right? Like mind, body, and then also like how that affects the world around you and your relationships and community and all that stuff. So we kind of started this like, let's take that positive angle, like gym culture, like the positivity of gym culture. And yeah, there's some shitty people out there. There's always going to be bad people. There's always going to be vain people who their only value is based on appearance and all that stuff. But that doesn't mean the other doesn't exist, and we want to highlight that. And so we've been doing that at Zeros on Heroes. You can follow that, and you can, or find them on my story or whatever it is. You can go check it out, because we're doing that show and it's a lot of fun and it's real positive. We'll have you on, Neri, when we get the scheduling down and we can figure it out, because everyone who has a body can work on it.
Sure.
So why not go into it with like a positive mindset rather than a negative one? That was the whole point of the show. So that's my only plug. If you're listen, if you're watching this, Follow me at Mike Marketall, at Zeros on Heroes is the podcast feed where all of that stuff will live, because we rebranded, sort of. Anyway, thank you all for watching, listening. If you're listening to the audio podcast, follow us on all our social medias. You can watch us live. Join us in the comments. Thank you, Hilda, for joining us in the comments. And remember, that's how winning is done. And